What's up, guys? This is Seth with Paperpot Co., and I'm going to be talking to you today about growing salad crops in the Paperpot Transplanter. I've been farming in Tennessee, California, and Canada, and have learned a few things along the way, specifically about the Paperpot Transplanter. It's been a huge game changer, so hopefully there's some good takeaways for you in this short presentation. We're going to be going over Salanova lettuce mix, head lettuce, and spinach. These are some of the more popular salad crops grown with the paper pot. There are others, though, that could also apply. A lot of these principles are universal. So first off, benefits of using the paper pot transplanter. There's a lot. I think a big one is controlled germination in a nursery environment. So when you're starting your seeds in paper chains indoors, you have so much more control as opposed to direct sowing in the field with all the variables that can take place out there with extreme temperatures, pests, weed pressure, all of it. So the paper pot allows you to start a lot of crops that ordinarily you would direct sow, but instead to start them indoors, which is just a lot more peace of mind as a farmer. And then, of course, there's the speed of transplanting. That's the whole essence of this machine and this technology, is to just save you so many hours from being on your hands and knees and hand transplanting individual plugs, like I know a lot of us have spent a lot of time doing. And then another one is just getting that perfect in-row spacing. So with the paper chains, they come in 2, 4, and 6 inch, and you're going to have that prefab perfect distance between each crop in row. And that really is extremely helpful for salad crops in particular, specifically head lettuce, so that each head can be a uniform size, which will really show well at market. They'll be healthier and also makes it a lot easier and efficient for cultivating and weeding. And then there's getting ahead of weed pressure, which goes back to, starting in the nursery. You can prep your beds in advance and irrigate and try and get that first flush of any weed seed that might be still on that top surface. And then whether it's silage tarps or flaming it, you can have a completely weed-free, stale bed to plant into when it comes time for transplanting. This is Farmer Maya at Little Big Farm in Olympia, Washington, sneaking in a quick planting of Salanova lettuce just before a big storm that was coming in. So that's another huge benefit of this tool, is just if you have a time constraint and a big storm coming in, you can really move quickly when you need to. So Salanova, this is typically grown in a 6-inch paper chain for a nice medium-sized head for each head. Your quick click drop seeder settings are going to be the 3mm plate with 5mm diameter holes, and those work perfectly with the pelleted seed that Salanova is sold in. The suggested rows per bed is 4, works really nicely, and that'll use 3 trays. 6-inch paper chain pots, it's going to take 3 of those for this planting. So $10.36 is your cost of materials. 28 days in the nursery is what is recommended. And then when you transplant, only 32 more days until your first harvest. You can plan for up to 130 pounds of Salanova in a 100-foot bed, and that can yield you $1,300 profit per bed, which is fantastic. So Salanova comes in 2 different collections from Johnny's Seeds. The Premier Collection, which is a lot of the butter lettuces, green and red, and then a Foundation Collection, which is the incised leaves or those serrated edges. And those have more crunch and loft, and the combination of the 2 collections really makes this beautiful mesclun mix or spring mix that really wows chefs and sets you apart from your competition. It's just a consistently beautiful product. Highly recommended. This is just a shot from my farm in California. Some freshly harvested butter lettuce in the Salanova collection. Beautiful stuff. Getting ready to head out to some local chefs there in Petaluma. So with Salanova, you can either cut the whole thing as head lettuce, or you can harvest for regrowth. And the way to do that is to make sure that you cut at least an inch above the soil, or more specifically above the growing point. And that will just ensure that you get a really beautiful second growth out of it, even a third sometimes. And it can also help to cut away the leaves around the plant after your first harvest, so those don't decay and possibly interfere with a real quality second harvest. It doesn't take too long. It's a little step, but it really can make a difference on your second or third cuttings. All right, moving on to romaine head lettuce. This one is 8-inch in-row spacing for a good size head of romaine. And the way to accomplish that is to sow every other cell in a 4-inch chain pot, since they don't sell 8-inch paper chains. Paperpot Co. custom makes skip plates to really make this a quick and seamless process. So those will have 132 holes instead of the typical 264. And you'll want the 3 mm thick plate with the 5 mm diameter holes again. And also 1 pelleted seed per cell. 3 rows per bed is suggested for sizing up some good romaine head lettuce. And that will take you 4 trays. And 4 trays of paper chain pots will cost you $13.32 in materials. This is also suggested 28 days in the nursery. Transplant it out 28 more days until ready for harvest. You can plan for about 422 heads in a 100-foot bed, and at $3 a head, that will yield you $1,266 plus or minus per bed, which also is a great return. We recommend Green Forest. There's a lot of different varieties out there, but this one is just a consistent, beautiful head of romaine. I believe that cultivar is sold by Johnny Seeds. Something else that's fun to experiment with is harvesting them younger and selling them as mini heads. This is kind of a novel way you can do it, and seems to be really popular at farmers market. I know Fair Share Farm has some good success with selling them that way. A good tip after harvest is to dunk them in cold water right away when they come in off the field, also called hydro-cooling. That can really extend the shelf life and keep them good and fresh for as long as possible. And then you're going to want to put those upside down in your harvest totes after the dunk so they can drip dry and get rid of any excess moisture, and they are ready for market. Spinach. Spinach is recommended in 2-inch paper chain pots, although there are other approaches to it. We're going to go with the 2-inch approach for this presentation. You'll want the 3 mm thick top plate for your quick click drop seeder with the 7 mm diameter holes. And this is to accommodate clusters of seeds in each cell to maximize your planting. So 3 to 4 seeds is your target per cell. Recommended with this spacing is 4 rows per 100-foot by 30-inch bed, and that will take up 8 trays. 8 paper chain pots in 8 trays will cost you $18.59 in materials. Also 28 days in the nursery for this one, and then 21 more days until first harvest. This would likely be baby spinach, though you can grow it to medium size or even large for bunching. You can plan for about 60 pounds of spinach per 100-foot bed, and that will yield you, if you can get $10 a pound for it, about $600 per bed in profit for spinach. Spinach is referred to as the king of winter. It is one of those cash crops that a lot of farmers will capitalize on in the shoulder seasons, early spring or late fall specifically. The recommended cultivars that work really well are Space and Gazelle. I believe both of those are also sold by Johnny Seeds. Something to keep in mind about spinach is that it does not like higher temperatures for germination. You really have to be below 70 degrees. So if you are trying to grow this year-round or in the warmer season, you're going to need to find a cooler spot that's below 70 to get even germination. As I mentioned, it's just really versatile for customers. You can market it as baby or grow it to a medium size or even full size and bunch it, just depending on what the demand is in your local market. Spinach can be harvested with the quick cut greens harvester or by hand. and definitely want to grow this under shade cloth if you are attempting to grow in the warm season. 50% shade cloth should do well. So this is farmer Ben Hartman at Clay Bottom Farm, putting in a beautifully germinated flat of spinach in 2-inch paper chain pots. This is farmer Clara at Four Seasons Farm in Maine, demonstrating harvesting by hand. You can get pretty quick at it when you've been doing it for some years. But the idea is to harvest around the perimeter of the plant, the larger leaves, and leave the really small ones that are continually growing from the center for your subsequent harvests. And this is farmer James at Radical Roots Farm in Snohomish, Washington, harvesting with the quick cut greens harvester. And you can see you can move really fast with this. You won't get quite the pristine product for your second or third harvests, but that might not be what your market is asking for, and it can still look great. Getting it all washed up there and spun dry in the washing machine conversion salad spinner. So there you have it. Those are 3 of some of the most common salad crops grown in the Paperpot Transplanter. Hopefully you found some good takeaways in this presentation.